So this is Australian TV, Sky News in Australia, who's basically it's a Rupert Murdoch organization. So it's no surprise that they're basically carrying the water of Fox News and Wall Street Journal. This is Biden bumbling over Afghan withdrawal. This is about the talking point that you're going to see a lot. There's a lot of talking points that we have watched die a horrible death. Remember lumber prices, and the Del Rio Bridge. There's all this stuff. Like the Biden administration, something comes up and they handle it. And something comes up and they handle it, or it was never in their control. It was outside of it, and it passes through into something else. So thanks. That's my silly Australian accent. I do got some moderators in the chat room, but they're gonna, gather around here. Oh, you want to see the Matt Gaetz thing too? Okay, I'll give a little bit of this. We don't have to do the whole thing. It's from the Bolt Report. How are you, Bruce? Bit crook, Bruce. Biden bumbling over Afghan withdrawal. This is recent. Except this is a month after. We're out, fucker. We just gave you nuclear-powered submarines. I'm still upset. Crikey.
Generals last night gave stunning evidence to a Senate hearing. Evidence confirming President Joe Biden is either a liar or that he's so confused now that his memory is shot.
Yes, it's upsetting.
Either way, Biden is fast becoming the most embarrassing president in U.S. history.
By the way, that's fast becoming the most embarrassing president in U.S. history. Okay, no one is more embarrassing than Trump, especially for those that love him. If I may, a point of order, Mr. Chairman. Shall we play the hits for a second?
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges. Michigan gave us Motang. Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
A lot of very bad things are happening in Nicaragua.
Soup for my family. Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? Person, woman, man, camera, TV. The Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese. Free health care for illegal. Free health care for illegal. First new branch of the U.S. Armed Forces in 75 years, Space Force. Not since the
That's right. Not since the ass force. You heard that right. You want to lean in.
First new branch of the U.S. Armed Forces in 75 years, Space Force. Mm-hmm. Not since the
Not since the ass force. Not since the ass force. But
to me, Corona means Italy.
So, but please go on. I'm sorry. Most embarrassing. Yeah.
I wonder how much longer he can stay. Because this is actually worse than embarrassing. It's dangerous.
No, it isn't. Somebody said 2,500 to stay in they didn't even ask about that contingency that had been floated around on the other side, and they didn't want it. They'd already made the decision. We're gonna go. Fuck it. We're out. Bye. Nobody said 2,500. They said an ancillary group. Some said 4,000. Some said 10. Somebody might have said 2,500 in a meeting, a bunch of these things, but nobody was like, that's the number, Mr. President. If we have 2,500, the country will stay. Nobody fucking told Biden at any point, and even the generals don't say this. They'd say they might have floated the idea in a meeting with other people saying other numbers or none at all as part of a greater meeting. But nobody came to Biden and said, if we have 2,500, we can just leave them there forever, and that will keep the country stable forever. Nobody fucking said that, because nobody believes that. They thought 2,500 would be a minimum to kind of stabilize things, but there was no way we were staying past the August 31st date.
When the United States last month suddenly abandoned Afghanistan,
Suddenly abandoned Afghanistan 3 months after Trump's exit date? Fuck you.
the chaos that caused was terrible.
No, the chaos it caused was already baked in. The chaos that caused. We're not supposed to stay there for fucking ever, spending $140 to $300 million a day so that you can go, God, are these guys ever going to get out of there?
The Afghan government instantly collapsed. The Taliban extremists took over without a shot being fired.
No, lots of shots were fired, dickhead. Like, of course there were shots fired. Fuck are you talking about?
In that chaos, the US left behind some 200 US citizens.
Oh, right. Hold on. Let me see. Let's see. Let's see. This is this is September 27th. You're going to have to cut that number in half, friend. Half of them already got out a day ago. These folks are all either in touchy situations or are trying to arrange for paperwork for their family, but they're going to get out too. The reason that they are having trouble is because no one processed the visas for their family members that are Afghans. Or they're just going to fucking stay. And by the way, not all of them are U.S. citizens, by the way. Some of them are permanent residents. Still Afghans, permanent residents. This is September 27th. The United States is aware of about 100 American citizens, so above or below. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. It's 104. Yeah, 100 citizens that wanted to stay a little longer, who didn't believe we were actually going to leave. And again, if the people who got stuck behind weren't prepared to leave because they didn't think we were actually leaving, whose fault is that? It is the fault of everyone who said we're leaving and we didn't leave, including Donald Trump. Let's see. And legal permanent residents who remain in Afghanistan are ready to leave the country, a senior State Department official said on Monday. Well, they are aware of them, and they are working on it. The State Department was working to get these people on flights out of Afghanistan, said the official who briefed reporters on a condition of anonymity. Our highest priority in Afghanistan, of course, remains helping those American citizens who wish to leave the country now to do so. About 124,000 people were airlifted out of Kabul after the U.S.-backed government there collapsed last month and the Taliban took control. Since U.S. forces departed and handed over the airport, 85 American citizens and 79 legal permanent residents, lawful permanent residents, have left Afghanistan on sporadic flights, according to the official. So that 200's really was like 230, and about 130 are gone, and now there's about 100 left. However, some Americans did not want to leave Afghanistan without family members who did not have the required travel documents to enter the United States, the official said. Now, what do you think the Fox News response would be to let's make her a female American who was working at the State Department, met her husband over there. They had a couple of kids. She has an Afghan husband and 2 children. And they've lived there they've been there, the kids are 12 now. She went there in 2008 where she started working for the embassy there or whatever. And she doesn't have the paperwork to bring her husband and the 2 kids here because the Trump administration hamstrung that whole fucking process. What do you think the big fight to make sure that her battle-age husband and their 2 male children can be brought to the United States? What do you think the big bum rush to get them in the country is from Fox News? The United States will soon intensify efforts to help the immediate family members of American citizens who did not have the needed documentation, the official said, but would not do so for their extended families, which could include a large number of people. I entirely understand how painful that choice may be for them, but for the matters of law and policy, up to this point, we have not extended support for expedited departure and resettlement in the U.S. for extended family members of U.S. citizens. And that's why. That's a lot of these people are trying to, they're not going to leave, and they want to bring grandma, or they want to bring their, brother-in-law, cousin, whatever, because it's going to work for the family when they come over here, blah, blah, blah. And LPRs don't even get that option. So about 200. Here's a picture of all of them still hanging out by the airport. None of them can get a ticket. It's terrible. On the Bolt report.
And it also lost 13 military in an ISIS suicide bombing.
Right. Why did we lose them? Why? Because we had to deal with extracting embassy personnel, military personnel, and SIV eligible Afghans who should have had their paperwork done years ago, but were denied it by the Trump administration. And he set the arbitrary date of May 1st. The killings were set to start again, and we didn't want our soldiers being killed by Taliban, so we decided to prioritize Americans who wanted to leave and our embassy staff and our military staff. And so we had to send people in to cover for that while we were getting the SIV people out because we didn't want to leave them there. Now, Trump could have gotten all those people out over the last 3 years, knowing full well that we were going to get out. And anybody who'd helped us early in the war, for example, who was no longer in a working relationship with us, but we were going to get them out for their own safety. We could have done that last year, year before that.
And days later, Joe Biden was asked this question, and he lied or misremembered.
Your top military advisors warned against withdrawing on this timeline. They wanted you to keep about 2,500 troops.
No, they didn't. It was split. No, that wasn't true.
Your military...
Okay, that's what he said. It was split. Did you hear that? You heard that, right?
Keep about 2,500 troops.
No, they didn't.
Hold on. Your military advisors said they wanted to keep about 2,500 troops. Listen.
This question, and he lied or misremembered.
Your top military advisors warned against withdrawing on this timeline.
Your top military advisors warned against, not some of them. The premise of the question is all of them.
Wanted you to keep about 2,500 troops.
No, they didn't. It was split. No.
There you go. There was not consensus to keep 2,500. Fuck you. Fuck everybody who's been playing this clip and lying about it.
That wasn't true.
Your military advisors did not tell you, no, we should just keep 2,500 troops. It's been a stable situation for the last several years. We can do that. We can continue to do that.
No one said that to me that I can recall.
As a consensus. That's what he's talking about. Nobody on that was a military consensus. Nobody said that that's how it will work out. There's been no killings. We can keep 2,500. By the way, does anybody believe, let's see how Stephanopoulos phrases that question again.
No, they didn't. It was split.
Okay, so it was split. They were not in agreement about a number or about the fact itself. Now let's go to Stephanopoulos.
Wasn't true.
Your military advisors did not tell you, no, we should just keep 2,500 troops. It's been a stable situation for the last several years. We can do that. We can continue to do that.
Right. None of his military advisors said 2,500 would stabilize the country. They all suggested that if we stayed past this timeline, we would have to add troops. 4,000 to 10,000 was the general consensus. Yeah, some said 2,500, some said 5,000. There was no idea, no one presented the idea that if we had 2,500 soldiers in there perpetually, it would be stable forever. And you're right, and the 2,500 were only stable because of the expiring ceasefire. Once the ceasefire is over, you need an extra 4,000 troops, and then another 10,000. And then we can get out in 3 months, in 5 months, in 10 months. Get fucked.
No one said that to me that I can recall.
Yes, no one said 2,500 soldiers would be enough to stabilize the country going forward.
No one said that? Well, that turns out to be absolutely false.
Does it? Really? Oh, yeah? Well, let's hear it.
The general in charge of Iraq, of Afghanistan, US operations there, he exposed that lie or that memory fail. He said that he had indeed asked for US soldiers, 2,500, to stay, and the US top general, Mark Milley, said the same.
I recommended that we maintain 2,500 troops in Afghanistan. And I also recommended earlier in the fall of 2020 that we maintain 4,500 of that.
Right. Sorry, when?
Also recommended earlier in the fall of 2020 that we maintain 4,500 at that time.
Okay, so he was meeting with Biden about this stuff when they were talking about the extraction, and Biden was like, "No, I'm not gonna pass this to another president. What the fuck are you talking about?" So 2,500 becomes 4,000, becomes 10,000.
Those are my personal views.
Those are my personal views. 2,500, 4,000, 6 months for fucking ever.
I have a view that the withdrawal of those forces would lead inevitably to the collapse of the Afghan military forces and eventually the Afghan government.
And I do agree with that.
Right. Okay, still no lie. Nobody presented to him that 2,500 would create stability in the country or in the government. 2 million people in Afghanistan, a country of 28 million people, voted for the Afghan government last time. 2 million. And the only reason they hadn't killed anybody is because Trump made this exit deal with the Taliban. You get the fuck out by May 1st, we won't kill your people. Yeah, he said fall of 2020, Biden wasn't in office. They were meeting with the Biden administration during the transition. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that what he said was, Mr. President, I think 4,000. I read you the stuff out of Peril and the like, where they're talking about during the Obama administration when Biden was like, these fuckers they got a gold watch. They're hiding the gold watch and telling you about the chain. This is a flim flam. You're being led around. These guys will always want more troops and always want to stay. But for the record, I haven't even addressed this. This lie has been floating all around the right wing blogosphere for the last few days, and I've seen it, but I haven't, it hasn't risen to the level of it's still in my who gives a shit file largely, but this is a blatant fucking lie. What's Bolt's name? What's this fucker's name? Joe Biden is blah, blah, blah. Mr. Bolt. You fucking say his whole name. Mr. Bolt. Sky News, Australia. Hi, I like Australia. I'm a big fan. I have some friends. I've got a friend from Perth who's lovely. Mr. Bolt is a fucking liar. And the clips that he played prove he's a liar. Yeah, Andrew Bolt. Okay. Hey, Drew. Andy. Let's call him Andy. Andy. Yeah, fucking. I need an Australian, nickname for him or a derogatory phrase. Perth is a great city. Mr. Bolt Jangles. I know my accent sucks. I'm fucking around. My real Australian accent, when I work on it, is actually quite good. But I'm not doing this for real. I'm doing it for wackiness. He's a dingo's wallabies nuts. Andrew Bolt is a fucking liar. Andrew Bolt just played 2 clips in a row because Andrew Bolt wants you to know that Sky News wants Andrew Bolt to lie on the air in defense of Donald Trump and against Joe Biden, against the president of the United States, for no other fucking reason that they need to, a death by 1,000 cuts. So he's got to dig up something and try to gin it up to make it look bad. And in fact, all he ended up doing was playing 2 clips in a row that prove he's a fucking liar. Now, the other right-wingers who've been playing these clips are not playing Stephanopoulos' questions. They're just saying 2,500 troops, and he goes, I don't remember them saying that. And they're like, aha! But if you roll back and actually listen to both the lead-in questions where Stephanopoulos is saying all the military leaders, there was a consensus. And there was not a consensus. Those 2 guys agreed. Didn't mean everybody on the Joint Chiefs, agreed. So no. Andrew Bolt, you're a liar. And thank you very much for showing us what a liar you are. Sky News, hi. How are you? Good on you. Welcome. Thanks for watching. You're going to see this because Sky News pays attention to some of these things or whatever. And if you can get Andrew to stop crying, tell him that the next time he floats one of these bullshit lies, tell your editors to be more sympathetic to the lie he is creating and scissor the things down out of context more so that they can make the lie fit his narrative. Because it was a miserable fail. And Andrew, I don't know if you've been let down by your editors or what.
So Biden had lied or simply could not remember the most critical.
No, Andrew, you lied. Andrew, we just saw the tape. We both saw what the general said, and we saw what Biden said. We saw George Stephanopoulos' questions. We saw Biden's answers to George Stephanopoulos' questions. Then you showed what the general said. Now, if there's missing context with the generals where they said, I spoke to him in this room saying 2,500 would create stability, blah, 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 and we all thought that. There was consensus among the generals that everybody believed it. Play it. Fucking, what a drongo. Yeah, thank you. Does that work? Is that a good one?
Advice given to him, but by at least 3 of those senior
At least 3. You mean 2?
generals. Advice that could have stopped the Taliban from totally conquering Afghanistan.
Yeah, which means us staying there forever and getting our soldiers killed to support a government and a military that will not stand up on its own. Fuck you. Australia has 2,500 troops. They're good fighters. Australians are amazing people. Send 2,500 of your own fucking soldiers. If you can hold down a base that large, we'll let you keep the gear, you drongo.
And now the top general, Mark Milley, he said the result was that the fight against Islamist terrorism had just got harder because of this, more dangerous.
We must continue to protect the United States of America and its people from terrorist attacks coming from Afghanistan.
Oh, wait a minute. What'd you slice out of there? Because he said you can, if I recall correctly, which we believe we can do and we have the capability of doing. Well, that's an interesting slice. Then what do you follow that shit up with?
And its people from terrorist attacks coming from Afghanistan. That mission will be much harder now.
That's it? Dude, you can't do a flash fucking edit like that. Look at this. Look at this shit. I didn't even know they had fiber in Australia. Hold on.
To protect the United States of America and its people from terrorist attacks coming from Afghanistan. That mission will be much harder now.
Did you, Andrew, Booby, did you see the edit before the segment? Because you have I'm just saying, you have a serious look on your face.
Joining me is Mark Christian, a retired Air Force colonel who headed the
A current Christian.
National Air and Space Intelligence Center, which advised the U.S. Defense Department on emerging threats. Mark Christian, thank you for joining.
He did? Why did he leave? Why do they no longer take his advice? Was he part of the advice that kept us in Afghanistan 15 years past the completion of the mission? Or something like that?
Again, the evidence here is not just that Biden ignored his top generals on Afghanistan, and is right as commander-in-chief to do that, but that he lied.
Yeah, I didn't lie. You lied. Andrew, you lied. You're lying now. You lied before. You showed us the clips. You're a liar.
American people about what had been told, or he simply couldn't remember. How serious?
No, he said it was split. There was no consensus. And nobody said 2,500 will stabilize a country. That was the question. And your generals, what he said. We heard it. You heard it. Everybody heard it, except Andrew Bolt, who has shit in his ears.
Is this for you?
For the United States, it's very serious because you've lost the ability to
spend $300 million a day and pour it into the pockets of Northrop Grumman and Boeing and Raytheon. You mean that? We've lost a key opportunity for the military-industrial complex. This is terrible. We'll do Matt Gaetz. Okay.
Inside their own homeland.
Thank you.
They've lost the capability to, stage operations inside the country, and they've lost.
Yeah, we don't want the ability to stage operations inside the fucking country. That's not on the table. We lost the ability to pour $300 million worth of good money after bad every fucking day.
They would have to do everything from overfly essentially unfriendly countries to the United States.
Yeah, what are they not going to give us snacks while we're waiting?
With or without permission.
War is hell.
In order to strike them in Afghanistan if the need should arise. So it's a very serious issue at this time.
Yeah, why would we want to strike people in Afghanistan from a distance when we can just put our soldiers there and wait for the bad guys to kill them? Is Caden in Australia? Probably. He's in Afghanistan.
Now, there are two issues here, of course. One is the strategic decision.
There's two issues here. The first one is I'm a liar, and secondarily, you're full of shit. Which one's important? I don't know.
Where he overruled his generals and abandoned Afghanistan and left it more vulnerable.
Abandoned. Trump set a May 1st date to get everybody out, but we're abandoning it. Sure, okay.
In the manner that you suggest. What about the other issue? What trust can the US military have in their commander-in-chief when Biden tells the world in a TV interview that they didn't give him the advice that they should have?
No, Andrew. See, Biden doesn't get in trouble for your lie. You're going to be very frustrated because this is not going to stick. It's not going to carry any weight. It's going to dangle around in right-wing talking points for about 4 days, and then it's going to evaporate. It'll become part of the underlying sort of the flow of lies. It'll enter into the kind of, let's lie, this lie. I got like 9 lies, and it'll become part of the Gish Gallop of right-wing talking points, but nobody's going to give a fuck because it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Was Biden even in office yet? He was getting briefings from these generals after the election when he'd won in the transition. That's what I think the late fall thing means. That's me giving him the benefit of the doubt. I have no doubt that guy was giving Trump the same information for the last 4 years, which is why we never left.
They actually did.
Well, Andrew, that's an interesting question. When the generals, the way it works is the chairman of the Joint Staff and the generals that are part of the Joint Staff, they are merely an advisory body to the...
Right. And their advice for the last 20 years is stay more troops, stay in more troops, and to stay. And if we're going to stay, we need more troops. And if we want to stay, we're going to need more troops. And every president was like, we're getting out, we're leaving, pack your shit, burn the stuff, leave it, we're getting out. And then every time they turn around the general, more troop, and we're staying for more troops, and more money, and more troops, and more lives, and 64 dead during the Trump administration, but nobody gave a fuck about those people. Because we gotta stay, forever and ever, and we gotta stay. Yeah, that's what these fuckers said every time.
To the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. The real chain of command is the president to the combatant commander, which is General McKenzie for U.S. Central Command in Florida, who oversees the forces in the Middle East. So,
thanks for checking your notes.
Those generals told him that they needed 2,500 or 4,000 troops to maintain some semblance of order or support for the Afghan national forces.
No. That was not George Stephanopoulos' question. He said 2,500 troops for stability in the country. To create a stable Afghanistan, we need to leave 2,500 troops in the country. Now, bring those generals back out in front of the Congress and have somebody ask them, are you saying that the presence of 2,500 troops in Afghanistan, if they had never been taken out, would have created a stable government and a stable Afghanistan? Well, sure. How? Well, after the ceasefire ended, a couple dozen of them would have gotten murdered or blown up, and then we would have used that as an excuse to bring in 4,000 troops and then another 10,000 troops. That's how. Does Australia have a navy? Of course they do. They're an island.
And I would believe that they would have told him that.
Yeah, you would believe that they have told him. It's interesting because they didn't. They told him they wanted 2,500 to 4,000, somewhere around there. It would take that. I don't know, but can you guarantee me it'll stabilize the country after the ceasefire's over? No. Well, then fuck it. We're getting out. $300 million goddamn dollars a day. A day. 64 human lives in the last 4 years for a government that can't stand on its own and a military that can't do anything without us.
It would. Because if they didn't do it,
yeah. Say that again. Sorry.
that it would, because if they didn't do it, they knew that essentially the Afghan forces, first of all, they hadn't been paid in 7 to 8 months. And the way the Afghans work and their culture, if you're not getting paid and you're not feeding your family, then they'll switch sides. And that's exactly what happened.
Jesus Christ. So we're paying mercenaries to fight their own civil war when they won't. And the minute we stop paying them, sorry, Rick, did I miss your joke or did I skip it? Did I not see it when it went by? Sorry.
Just because of the corrupt military, the corrupt politicians, the whole infrastructure is
corrupt.
The
whole infrastructure is corrupt. The military's corrupt. The politicians are corrupt. So why don't we just stay there forever? And yes, Australia does have a navy, indeed. Why don't we just stay there forever and dump hundreds of millions of dollars a day into Afghanistan? What the fuck are you talking about? Where is the argument here? Who says that? Who says that's the plan?
And as soon as the paychecks stop coming, their loyalty fades quickly. And of course, the U.S. troops would have been able to put pressure on the Afghan government and in order to help make sure that they were paid. But obviously that didn't happen.
What do you mean the troops would put pressure on the Afghan? What, are you going to like hold Ghani at gunpoint so he can't flee the country with $168 million? You out of your fucking mind? What is this? How is this an argument? Andrew, congratulations. I thought you were the dumbest person on this show, and this guy's giving you a run for your money. Congratulations.
So there were also intelligence people that would have been able to recognize that the Taliban and the other ISIS forces were building up. And if they didn't know that, then that would be a serious, serious intelligence failure. And I would find that very hard.
But that's the point here. That's the point for me, that Joe Biden made his generals look like clowns. Apparently, they didn't tell me that we need to do all these basic things that you're talking about, and they did.
No. You don't get to paraphrase when you're accusing someone of lying. That's a fairly hard and fast rule. If you say, you said, and then you paraphrase what I said to reshape what I said into a lie, then you are a liar. Just like Andrew Bolt.
They did, and now they've dumped him in the mess.
No, they didn't. They did not. They did not promise stability. They did not, as a whole, come to him and say, we've all talked, 2,500 troops would keep Afghanistan stable forever. We're just going to do it on our own. Fuck May 1st. We're just going to stay. We should stay forever. And by the way, that doesn't mean Biden's going to say yes. But let's just say they all came and said that, because that was the question that George Stephanopoulos presented. Biden said it was split, and nobody said 2,500 would give you stability. And then the clip he plays, the guy's like, 2,500. I also said 4,000. Jesus.
One last thing. The US has had Afghanistan lost, that chaos at the airport.
We didn't lose in Afghanistan, fucko. We left. We were shoring up a government and a military. Not our job. We left. The Afghan government lost. We were paying them to be winners. That's ridiculous.
There, 13 soldiers killed in an ISIS bombing outside the airport. You've had US citizens left behind, lots of weaponry left behind as well for the Taliban, an increased terrorist...
No, it was left behind for the Afghan military. They just chose not to use it, but we weren't going to steal the guns out of their hands when the Taliban was encroaching on the bases and leave them weaponless. What the fuck are you expecting?
as a result. And on top of all that, the US then bombed what it wrongly thought was the car of a terrorist, instead killed an aid worker and 7 children. Yet the only person in this fiasco who has been jailed or even lost the job is a Marine colonel who filmed this video demanding accountability and is now in the brig. Here he is.
Yeah, he superseded the chain of command. You can't have people in the military doing that. It's a dangerous precedent. That's what's going to happen to you. We've all seen that part of it. So, and again, he's serving. So until they kick him out, I'm not going to mock a member of the military who's serving on the ground anywhere. Just policy I have.
How do you feel about that colonel being the only one in jail or even out of a job?
Well, sir, the American military takes a oath of allegiance to the Constitution of the United States, unlike other countries that take other allegiances. And so he has every right to ask those questions. And
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. It's insubordinate. Of course he doesn't have that. You can't have the military split on orders and airing it in public. There are rules about that. Hal looking into Sky News Australia, they're owned by the Murdoch Group. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Be in the brig.
They got a 1-week suspension because of COVID misinfo. I'm surprised they're still on.
He should be able to ask his.
Oh, thanks, Tiaki. Yeah, I even if I disagree with somebody who's serving, on the ground, I'm not gonna. They can just have their say, even in this case. But as far as the policy, you're out of your fucking mind. Do you think this guy, if he had people serving under him, if he'd let them live stream what he said to them in meetings and say, this guy's full of shit, he wants me to do this? No fucking way. Do you even have a military if people can do that? Are you out of your goddamn mind? You joined the military to follow orders, to carry them out honorably. He wasn't being asked about an illegal order. He wasn't being told to do something illegal.
Commanders and the chain of command. Why? What happened? Why did this happen? Why did this operation fail the way it did?
It didn't fail the way it did. It succeeded the way it did. We're out. We got 124,000 people out. 13 people had to die. We were in there for 20 fucking years. If you're calling this a failure, then you have to call last year a total failure, and the year before that, and a year before that.
They basically cut and run. That's what happened. And there should be a lot of accountable senior officers, colonels, generals, certainly politicians, and certainly the National Security Council and the rest of them. They have a lot to answer for. Whether they'll ever get the answers, I suspect.
No, because Trump set a date of May 1st. We pushed it 3 months and we got the fuck out. And we've been trying to get out for 10 years. 10 years.
A lot.
I think you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, Mark Christian, I'm as cynical as you are. Thank you so much for your time.
Now, the word you're looking for is stupid. Okay, now, let's see this. Hold on.
America's top
Boring.